Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We do hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. We are, of course, your award-winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. We are back. It is the late, great preview coming your way. Of course, Spurs up against Brentford at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. For our listeners on audio, look, it will be, of course, for you lovely people, en route to the stadium hopefully today or on the build-up to kick-off. So thank you so much for joining us. It has been a busy month. And I've got to say, guys, that we are recording in the midst of the round of Premier League fixtures here on the Tuesday. So we'll try our best to not provide any spoilers, but I will warn you, if one result stays the same or does change in a decent favour, you'll most certainly hear about that first on this show. But a long way to go. So like I say, keep the eyes for those in the comments and let us know and update us as to what's going on. We're joined by three great regular returning guests to Last Word on Spurs. Joining me is our crazy training instructor conductor, Mr. Lee McQueen's in the house. Macca, how are you, my man?
That's all right until we come on here. Gabriel said Jesus just fucking scored. 2-0, 1-0 Gooners.
Oh, mate. I thought we were going to say anything to the end.
Come earlier, I know. But at least it's come earlier in the 85th minute where we all know that it was going to happen. So, I'm all good, mate. I'm well. I'll be honest with you. I'm not over Friday. I don't want to go over it too much again. I'm sure you ask.
We definitely. Well,
you know, I'm not over Friday. It was very disappointing. I'm not going to go in on the lads or whatever. You know, we were just not good enough. And I'd like to have seen Ange Bourne. We didn't see it, so I was obviously at the game. But apart from that, all good. I'm looking forward to loads of Premier League games going on. It's very exciting again, and hopefully we can get the win 3 points tomorrow and we crack on.
There was me thinking when I texted you on Sunday and I said to you, Macca, I'm not ready to have our catch up. You didn't seem that too. I mean, again, it's hard to tell for a WhatsApp message. It's funny, you're still getting over it. It's.
You know what? I've gone through the range of emotions. I don't know everyone else. I've just quickly on it. I've gone through the range of emotions on it. Like I'm like, it was our biggest game of the season. We didn't turn up. You know, and you know, it's a cup. It's a cup pandemic now for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. It's a pandemic or an epidemic, right? Because we just don't seem to, you know, it doesn't matter who the manager is, don't matter who the players are, don't matter who starts, don't matter who's on the bench, don't matter. We just seem to play not very good in the cups. You know, I was freezing my backside off at Sheffield United when we went out there last season, like most of the people. You know, even Burnley, I was on a plane on the Burnley game, but you guys said you were there, weren't you, Pat? You said it weren't very good. It was a 1-0 win, but it weren't very good. You know, went first time of asking against Fulham. You know, this is not like I'm not having a go at all the players or it's just it doesn't actually mean anything with the players, the manager. It's just I don't know. It's like I say, it's a pandemic, an epidemic for Tottenham with cups, and it's highly frustrating. We're in there to win 4 games to go to Wembley.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to bring it up, but
no. Anyway, sorry, I know I don't. Yeah. Anyway, like I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing for the Premier League being back, but just there's a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth, you know.
I just thought for a second I walked into the wrong show and it wasn't the post match, was it? I mean, I've been through that an hour and a half through the ringer. Thought I'm not doing that again. Adam looked like he's gone back in time, bless him. Before we bring Ads back in, look, delighted to have alongside me one man who unfortunately was there on, of course, Friday, which does feel like a long time ago now, given how many shows we've racked up this week. And we are, of course, recording on the eve of Brentford to come. For those that are going, it'll be tonight. Pat, loves you back on, my man. Chatty Pat is here. Pat, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. And, you know, at the stadium, like I said, I put a picture up. It was me, Lee, Christina, George, Achillia, and then our guy, Bainsy. And we had a good time, man. We had a good time before the game and after the game, but it was just that middle part, like Lee said. And it was disappointing because biggest game of the season, Man City at home, we were up for it. The crowd was up for it. We thought, you know, we're pushing our luck because we always knew at some point City were going to score and possibly beat us in our stadium. That wasn't going to go on forever. They are the best club team in the world for a reason. But like Lee said, we just didn't turn up, man. Defensively, we were really good. But offensively, we offered absolutely
nothing. Excellent.
Yeah. Like defensively, like, because you can segment the game on two sides. Like defensively, we were really good. Every man, you know, put their body on the line and defended well as a unit, individually, whatever. But offensively, we offered nothing. Werner made run after run after run, didn't get found. But anyway, let me chill because you probably did this already, Ricky. We weren't obviously on the, you know, post-match show because we was at the game. But yeah, just disappointing, man. We didn't really test their goalkeeper. They had their second keeper in goal, and I don't recall really having a shot. It said we had one shot on target, but I don't even remember that shot. So it's a bit.
Brennan Johnson got smothered. Brennan Johnson.
Oh, did he?
Smothered
I don't even recall it. That's how it must have been.
It weren't really a shot, really.
So a bit of a bummer because, like, City, when you draw City, it's going to be tough. But we should have given them a better challenge than that. But now we just got to focus on the league. That's it now, isn't it? So but I am good. I'm happy to be here. Love all the comments and nice comments in the comment section. And hopefully this is a much more positive show than Friday night.
I mean, I was looking forward to it, and you boys showed up.
We have to get it off our chest, man. We haven't been on there since, so
but I feel like it's been 2 weeks later, and you boys are coming in. They've finished this. We've got a massive game against Brentford to come. I mean, one man I know did his best to avoid the game. Bless him, he was out on the slopes. Was the wonderful Adam Osper back with his ads. Lovely to have you here. Do you have your 2 pennies worth? Given these boys have thrown in there 2 cents on it.
I've been insulted again, being called Dean Gaffney on the chat straight away. Unacceptable.
Less than 10 minutes. That's a record.
It's an unacceptable insult, that is. Do you know what I mean? There's certain I'll take, but that is, a dagger. Honestly, I think the greatest thing when Spurs lose is if you're on holiday somewhere and you don't get to see it. I just showed you the steak. I was having the greatest steak of my life. And I didn't have service, and I was on the ski slopes of Italy, so I missed it. I heard we were crap. It suffers the pain. It takes the pain away a little bit. Do you know what? I tell you what frustrates me is not necessarily like playing badly, but generally over the years, we always, if you look at the other so-called big clubs, we always end up with really hard games early. I'm going to leave in a minute with all these insults. Jesus, I mean, honestly, I'm getting absolutely canned.
Lee's had to go off to compose himself.
No, he has.
He's gone back through. He's gone back through makeup.
Oh dear. Chelsea never get a really difficult, tough home game in the 4th round. Liverpool never do. We always end up quite early with a really hard game. Arsenal don't really get tricky games. They did this season. When they won it a few years ago, they got that easy run like League One. We always end up when you think, right, we've got a chance now, and then we get lumped with the hardest possible game you could get. And that's what happens. And it's unfortunate. And, we're literally at that point where City were hitting form, getting De Bruyne back and their players back. And it's like, thank you, Liam. Hearty, I like you.
He's not related, is he?
It's my son inside messaging.
He's on the keyboard, is he?
By the way, Arsenal 2-0 up, Saka scored, so that one's pretty much done.
I mean, look, that was always going to happen. We were clutching at straws if you were hoping that Forest were going to do anything realistically. So glad to be back. Nice to be back. Thank you.
Pleasure, mate. Listen, we are going to turn our attentions to, of course, Spurs back in the Premier League with an ideal opportunity to bounce back, of course, from that disappointing game in the Cup. Obviously, Wednesday evening for Spurs. For those listeners on audio, you'll probably be heading to the game. You'll be building up to, of course, that game this evening where Spurs have the opportunity to, of course, bounce back after, of course, a disappointing result against City in the Cup. But look, it's an opportunity for Spurs to really build on their league form where, as we record at the moment, Aston Villa are currently losing to Newcastle at home by 2-0. If that result does stay the same, and again, you'll get that reaction in this show, it does mean Spurs, with a win, can, of course, move into the top 4. But how many times have we said that about Spurs, that they've got an opportunity if? But it is a big opportunity, of course. Look, Spurs, 40 points from the respective 21 matches so far. We are currently placed 5th in the Premier League. As I mentioned, they're 3 points behind Aston Villa as things stand. But we all know with Brentford, it's never an easy game, regardless, Tony or no Tony, but of course he is back, and as a result it is a quick turnaround for Tottenham. They've of course got Everton as well to come at the weekend, and again, Angie's pre-match presser once again taking the headlines because again, that man, could we again, the man refusing to rule out Spurs being in the midst of a title race. I think what's important for me just to bring to air is that for those that are looking for updates in terms of how our guys are doing on international duty, Son and South Korea are through to the Asian Cup quarterfinals after a penalty shootout win against Saudi Arabia. Sho Gui-sung scored in the 99th minute as an equaliser, and then Son netted his penalty in that shootout. And at the same time, Yves Bissouma's Mali progressed in the African Cup of Nations with a 2-1 win against Burkina Faso. Worth me adding, Basuma was an unused sub, with reports suggesting he felt discomfort in his thigh during training the day before, so was not risked. I mean, Basuma's gone for a bit of a tricky time out there. Apparently also at one point contracted malaria. Not really great. You thought that might be an opportunity to really build on some confidence and come back. But again, on the team news front for Spurs going into, of course, Brentford, and Postecoglou confirmed Manor Solomon, Giovanni Lo Celso and Ryan Sessegnon remain unavailable for this one, along with Elo Veliz. He said those guys won't be available. The situation is pretty much the same. On the positive front for Tottenham, the good news is that Pat Sarr, I say positive front, look, the guy unfortunately knocked out, of course, of the African Cup of Nations with Senegal, will be on his way back to the football club in time for Everton to come at the weekend. And it will also hopefully see James Maddison get a first start since that injury, of course, that he suffered against Chelsea when he returns to the Spurs Stadium later this evening for our listeners on audio. So, guys, let's get some thoughts before we go into the main depth of Brentford about how we're feeling about it. Macra, I'll come to you. It is unfortunate for Spurs.
Can we just say that, obviously, at the stadium, please. Tim was fantastic. Like
Timmy Winston.
Yeah, he blew us away, man. There was probably about 5,000 people there. And obviously, everyone was singing word for word. He was amazing, man. If you haven't been down to watch Tim, please do so because, he's electric. And, he got us pumped up. It's just a shame that we were shit on the day because he was brilliant. But,
What show's this again?
I saw him in the comments. I had to say, well done.
Yeah. You were top man. Listen, also on that point, Pat, you mentioned it there. Tim will be there tonight, of course, at the Spurs Stadium. Make sure you go and see Tim with all your favourite classics and more. There's some new songs as well that he's dropping as well. So, look out for Tim, of course, at the Spurs Stadium, at Spurs Song Sheet, of course, for more info on them. But, Lee, we'll open up with you. Brentford to come. Premier League focus for Tottenham. How are you feeling about it? Confident?
It's a weird one, Rick, to be honest, because obviously we lost against Brighton, that are, by the way, getting tonked by Luton. I mean, this league is utterly bonkers, this league. We got beaten by Brighton, but since then we've had a couple of wins. Before then we had a couple of wins. So, we should be going into this game on good form. I think, it's just taking the wind out of my sails anyway, that we just talked about on the Friday. But look, we've got Maddison back. He did look a bit rusty. There's no doubt about it. I think Ange I haven't seen Ange's press conference yet. I'm going to watch it after this. But I have seen snippets on social media, and I think he's sort of alluded to the fact that in hindsight, but he looks good. He looks fine. He's not Richarlison and he's not our number 9, but he's Maddison. He should be starting. So if you think about it, I've had enough now of kind of talking about our injuries and talking about how many people are missing, the suspensions. I've had enough of it. The reality is that we got one of the best goalkeepers in the league, if not the best this season, and he's fit. We've got the left back, the right backs, left centre back, and the right centre back, all brilliant, all our first choice, all fully fit. Sarr's not going to be back in time. Obviously, bless him. Well done. He got his penalty, but unfortunately he's out. But he'll be back for the Everton game. But actually, we've now got a decent midfield with Maddison, Bentancur, who haven't even played together, by the way. They haven't. Just again, check out my Twitter feed. I put there's a picture floating about that I made, which is Van der Ven, Maddison, and Bentancur. They ain't even played together yet, Rick. They ain't even played together. Even against Man City, Bentancur come off and Maddison came on. So craziness. So we have got a scenario against Brentford whereby we may well have Bentancur, Maddison, and one of Skip or Højbjerg or even a Kulusevski if you're still playing Johnson in that midfield. So that would be very interesting to see the way he goes. And really, the only person up top that we're missing is obviously our captain, our amazing captain, Heung-min Son. Yeah. After that, yes, Basuma and Sarr and whatever, I get that. But, you could argue Basuma don't get in his side anymore with Bentancur back, based on the fact of, his form in the last 10 games. I think we should be going into it. I don't know why I'm so down on my luck, actually. I think, to be fair, I think we should be going into it full of confidence. We're at home. I've got to say, I have to say this. I am sorry, but I have to say this. I am a bit disappointed with our home form. We've got an unbelievable stadium, and I don't think the crowd, maybe it was an FA Cup. I heard the same for Burnley. Obviously, I wasn't there, and I go all the home games. I thought the crowd was a little bit flat. I thought, THFC Flags put a massive effort on to get flags, and no one was really kind of waving them that much. The the other night under the lights, Friday night under the lights, was very different to a Champions League night. Do you see where I'm coming from? Champions League with the tifos and this, that, and the other. I don't know. Something weren't quite right, but. It is under lights. It's in a midweek game. It's a Premier League game. Ivan Toney is going to get all the headlines because he's kind of coming back, and he's had that interview, isn't he? For most of us have seen it, has kind of almost pledged his allegiance to wanting to join Arsenal, which will rile most of us lot. So but there's no excuses, mate. We've got to go out and we've got to win. We owe Brentford as well. The last time they come to our gaff, we got smashed 3-1, which was completely embarrassing. So with the greatest respect to Brentford, we need to be turning them over and properly turning them over as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, Brentford has been one of those games which it has proved pretty tricky for Spurs, but I do want to remind fans out there going into this one that obviously, you look at the confidence perspective that we have won 4 and one of our last 6 league games. I mean, there's no getting away from it, Lee. We have had some really poor results at home when you consider the likes of Aston Villa, of course, we lost to. And look, it's one of those things where West Ham as well, I mean, there's, of course, the Chelsea one in there too. But there's only been a few occasions you can honestly say that the team haven't played to their absolute maximum. But I think what's exciting me, which I've said many times, is, Pat, come over to you. We haven't really seen the Spurs team of the 10 games at the beginning that we've now got the opportunity to maybe see, bar Sonny, of course, because of the fact that we've been really riddled by injuries and suspensions. And I get Macca's point that we don't want to home down too much on the injuries and suspensions, but this is really the first time, and again, we're without Son, that Spurs can really field an 11 similar to what they fielded in those first 10 games, Pat. So how do you feel going into it for you?
Yeah, no, I feel confident. I feel happy and excited and ready to go. I mean, we kind of have to put that cup game behind us. But when we go back to the league form, like my man said in the comments just a few moments ago, it's really good. I mean, our last 5, we've drawn 1. Sorry, no, we haven't. We lost 1. We drew 1. We lost 4-2 to Brentford and 1-1. If you take it back 6 games, we won as well. But yeah, our last 5 games, we've got 10 points. Their last 5, I mean, let's be real. Brentford are not in good form at the moment. They're looking really shaky. They've won 1 and lost 4. So they've only picked up 3 points in their last 5, and we've picked up 10. It's funny because our head-to-heads are very similar. Like when I checked it, we've played them 5 times in the Premier League. We both won 1 game and we've drawn 3. Like Lee alluded to last year, I mean, we went up 1-0. Harry Kane scored a brilliant free kick, and then they ended up turning around and smashing us 3-1. But typically, it's a tight game. But I do feel that we should get the better with them this time around. We are the better team, with all due respect. They are good on their day, don't get me wrong, but we're much better than them. They're going through a bit of a rocky patch. Like usually, you would put them in the top half of the table. This year, they're much closer to the relegation zone than they are to Europe. So when you look at the 2 teams and all the players we got back, I feel confident going into this. And it's time now. We've got a favourable run in, but it's time now to stop the talking and put the points on the board. At the end of the day, the players are back now. We've got more than enough going forward. Richie's in decent form. Kulusevski, he's been in and out, but he's still a very good player. We've got Pedro Porro in scintillating form, racking up the assists. We've got a very good defensive unit again. No excuses now, man. It's time to start putting the points on the board. And you can see all the other teams, the good teams, are starting to pick up wins. And if we're not careful, they're pulled away. So I'm not expecting anything other than a convincing win tomorrow. And I feel that we'll get that. I do feel confident. The Man City, I mean, of course, it is frustrating. And I know a lot of fans were venting and upset that we lost to Man City. And I'm upset as well. But we have to put it into context. Like Adam said, I don't know. I was pissed when we got drawn with Man City. I'm not going to lie to you. And I said it then and I say it now. I was really annoyed. They're the best team in the world. And it was going to be very, very tough to beat them. You saw on Friday, they're a brilliant team. We went at it. And you got to be 101% to beat a team that good. And we were nowhere near our best. So we weren't going to beat them. We're out now. So now it's time to focus on the league. No more excuses. Irrespective of Son's not here, Basuma, Sarr, whatever. We've got more than enough to beat most teams in this league. So, yeah, no excuses now. I just want to see the boys playing good football, obviously scoring more goals than we concede, and let's get some wins.
Yeah, I mean, Ad's bringing you in. It is an opportunity now to really get some points and wrap them up. Obviously, Spurs' next 4 out of 5 are at home. I don't think you can ask for, the opportunity now to really, as I say, get some points on the board. Again, I mentioned the fact Sarr is coming back. A man said ahead of that, he said, at the latest I heard, should be back tomorrow. That, of course, being Wednesday. Disappointed for him in Senegal because they had major ambitions to win the tournament, but he's a key member of the squad. It's great to get him back. Just on James Maddison before Ads comes in there, Ad was asked how is he. He said, look, he's okay, he's fine. We probably could have got him a little bit more game time in that game previously, but the way the game was going, we put him on a bit later than we wanted to, but he got through it, so he trained and he's ready. He was then asked if he'll start the game. He said that we'll see. We've got 3 games this week. Friday, of course, Brentford, and Saturday, so there'll definitely be some change. I just think it's balancing up who starts and as to who's best equipped for the game. I mean, Ads, give me your thoughts. How do you go into Brentford? Got to be a must-win game. Has to be, right? Have to get the win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really confident. I mean, I think the guys made the point. For me, the only person missing from our starting 11 now is Son. In my opinion, I think Sarr, when he's back, obviously Bentancur and Maddison are the midfield 3. I don't think there can be any excuses if we don't win. I think it will be poor if we don't win. I think we're excellent at the beginning of the season. We've had some key players out. We have one key player out, I would say, from our starting 11. If we can't beat Brentford at home, we're in trouble. I can't really. I didn't see the City game, as I said. So, outside the City game and the Fulham game in the Cup, possibly Wolves away, I can't actually remember this season us playing badly. And even the Wolves game, we should have won. We were a bit stupid at the end. And actually, there's an argument that every game this season we should have won. I think you can argue that for most games, possibly City away, Arsenal away, draws were fairs. But pretty much, I think we've done enough to win. Villa at home, we did more than enough to win that game. We could have tonked them. Chelsea, we could have been 4-0 up at half, after 25 minutes. We were amazing. I think Brentford could be quite a good team for us because they play quite open, but they play a similar sort of style. And I think at the same time, they're not in the greatest of form. So I think, it could be one of those games where it'll be quite open, which suits us. I think Maddison starting, will be a big thing, playing with Bentancur. Defensively, we're our strongest. Our famous last words, but I'm pretty confident. I think we're in a great position. I think there's an element of disappointment with people now because of how we started the season, and everyone thought we were going to win every single game and never lose a game. And Ange was the second coming of Christ. And, the reality is we had a bit of a really difficult, he is potentially, but we had a really difficult season and we've potentially been overachieved. But equally now, win tomorrow, we're 4th in the top 4. Europe's coming for the other teams. I don't think Villa will sustain their form for the rest of the season. So I think we're really, really well placed. We're not far off the top. I like how Ange said yesterday, so we can't win the league. Whether we can win the league or not, it's about changing the mentality and talking about it rather than talking about top 4. It's where is your ambition? Where do you want to be?
Yep.
And I like the way he talks like that.
Oh, man. I want to bring in some of those comments that you mentioned there about the presser, because, again, there's some really interesting stuff there. I mean, that's sometimes the benefit of recording on the day of the Ange presser, because, again, when you record beforehand, you miss, of course, the information about injury news and the fact how Ange sees that game itself. But, we mentioned about Maddison coming back there. That could allow, of course, Dejan Kulusevski to return to his usual right wing role, from where really the Swede has been a live wire for Spurs this season. He's creating more chances following carries than any other player in the Premier League 19, although none of them yet have led to an assist, some leading to the semi-assist. Lee, I just wonder, again, I think the mood and campaign is a little bit dictated by, of course, the disappointment going out the Cup. But I've got to be honest with you, look, you've known me for many, many years, and you know how I felt after the Sheffield United exits, the Forest exits of the Cup. I've got to say, I actually feel just a lot more optimistic. We've got a lot more to play for, obviously, of course, with Spurs going into the second half of the season, because of the nature of the fact that with Tottenham now, it does feel European football would be really important to this squad. It obviously allows you to enhance the squad. It gives Ange the opportunity to look at bringing better players in. So just how important is it, Lee, that we really do step back into the league form that we have shown previously and don't allow a blip to happen here? Because as we've said here, we've got some favourable games coming up, 4 out of the next 5 at home. We really, really do need to go on a run now, right?
Yeah, I think Ad makes actually make a really good point about the deserved win games. And you are right. I wasn't at the Villa game actually because I was working weirdly on that weekend, but we absolutely battered them. To be fair, and we should have taken the points, and then obviously we didn't. And the Premier League is brutal for that. similar against Chelsea. We'll know what happened now. I think Wolves was the game. I think there's been 3 games, personally. I think there's been 3 games. I think it's been Wolves, I think it's been Fulham in the Cup, and I think it's been City the other night. They are basically the 3 games that I didn't see Ange ball. And there is a common denominator in that, and you can work out what that is. I'm sure everyone will know. But where I'm disappointed with where I'm going into this game a little bit a bit tentative is because we was at home, because I know we're playing the best team in the planet and this, that, and the other, but the reality of the situation is that we had 1 attempt, like 1. And that's what I'm worried about. I'm like, we need to be getting them runs in. Maybe look on the bright side, right? Maybe Werner makes them same runs against Brentford and he gets found 14 times, like he didn't the other day, and all of a sudden he scores a hat-trick. But that's the creating of chances, the possession stats, the passing stats, the creating chances, the being in the positions to score. None of that was there the other night. None of that was there really against Wolves, and it wasn't really there against. That's where I would say there probably the 3 games. And bearing in mind that actually the Villa game that we talked about, we were completely decimated with injuries. We had fullbacks playing as centre backs, all this kind of stuff as well. We even went up to the Etihad and gave it a go and got a 3-3 out of it in the league. So hopefully we get back to that. I don't know. It's really difficult why my mood is the way it is. I'm not normally like this. I'm just worried. I'm just worried that we've got 17 games left. That's it in our season. So we have to get something out of the season. Statistics. I love the blue book, and you love the statistics and stuff. Statistically, we shouldn't fall out of even a top 4. I know we're not even in top 4 at the moment, but we shouldn't fall. With the amount of points that we've got, the amount of ratios that what we've been doing, we shouldn't fall away. But we did again last season, didn't we? We did fall away. We were 3rd up until the Southampton game, which I think this was this weekend. This weekend last season, I think it might have been a bit earlier. We was 3rd until the Southampton game with that 3-3, and then it all went Pete Tong. So I've got that a little bit in the back of my mind. And I do think, I think personally, I'm missing Sonny. I think he brings so much.
We're all missing Sonny, aren't we? We're all missing him. Yeah.
But it's just my mood. I think that, I love that theme tune, Happy Days, and everything that TJ Remini did with us, and the whole with the Fonz and Henry Winkler. It was such a good time. And I've got that, the video that Sky made with. I want to get back to that, and it doesn't feel like we're there. I think we need the game tomorrow.
We need to win tomorrow. We need that win tomorrow.
Win, and we need to not win scrappy. We need to go out and play Ange ball and smash Brentford. Because when you look at the statistics on Brentford, it's a bit that I don't think they play that open. To be fair, I think they actually sit back and absorb pressure like Forest are trying to do with Arsenal tonight. I think if you look at the possession stats against Brentford at the beginning of the season, I think we had something like 78% possession, and that was Ange's first game, and we just sold Kane as well. So, and that was them lot at home. So, and they had Bemo and Wisa who are not playing. So I don't know. I'm a bit worried about Brentford. I don't know why. Maybe it's the Tony factor. Maybe it's that we didn't create enough chances. But maybe we need to be going in there and smashing them. And Keith makes a good point. You're moving like the rest of us because of Sonny. Yeah, maybe I am. But I just said that. I think I'm missing Sonny. But we're not a team. We're not the Harry Kane team. We're not the Heung-min Son team.
No.
Maybe we're missing Maddison. That creative. I don't think Bentancur was at it the other night. I don't think Kulusevski was at it the other night. Brennan Johnson's been getting a lot of stick as well. We just need that front element to click because there's no excuse at the back now, Rick.
No.
We've got to fit. It has to be that we score and go and we go.
Just on that point, Mackie, you saying about Dragoshin and obviously the defence at the moment, Ange was asked, is there a possibility that he could make his debut, of course, over the next week? He said, look, I don't know. What we'll try and do is win these 2 games and put out the best team that we can. That is always my focus. It's not about trying to preempt things about whether one plays or not. We'll put out a team in relation to Brentford that we believe can win the game, and I'll address that after what we need to do for Saturday. So keeping his cards very, very close to his chest about Dragoshin. But you'd imagine, look, with 2 games in a week, I would expect to favour Dragoshin starting, I think, at home rather than Goodison Park. But look, he has thrown him away at Old Trafford, so he's not afraid, Ange, of making big, bold decisions. Patty, coming over to you. look, we know how big a miss Heung-min Son is to this Tottenham team, just in regards to the captaincy, how he does drive the players on. You got any concern, Pat, that in an ideal world, Sonny could be back here right now? Because I think there's no doubt about it. He's a very much vocal, person on the field, and we've seen that really from the moment he took the captaincy. But I still think, Pat, with the players we've got enough quality over the next couple of weeks without Son to get results, right?
Yeah, exactly that. And I saw people kind of almost celebrating when Sonny, as in South Korea, were losing and he was potentially on his way home. I said it on here and I say it on any podcast or anytime I talk to somebody. I want Son, I want our players to go all the way. I want them to win stuff, irrespective if it's club or country. Yes, it's an inconvenience for us right now, but we have more than enough to beat the teams that we're facing. And I want our guys to be successful. So if that means Son playing the remaining games and winning, that's much better for us in the long run than him coming back early to face with all due respect, to Brentford or Everton. These are teams that we should be beating without Son. So, I want Son. I was upset when I saw Sarr go out. He scored his penalty. It was a really good penalty. Obviously, him coming home, see people celebrating. It's not a good feeling for somebody to come back losing a game that they should win and to go out on penalty. So we don't know if we're going to get the same upbeat Sarr because obviously of what's just happened. So put things into context.
Really good point. Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people are so selfish and only thinking it from a club perspective, but these are guys that live and breathe and die football, and obviously they want to represent their country at the highest level. And to go out when you're the favourites, they were the favourites to win that AFCON and they've crashed out. It's not a good look. So I want Son's obviously getting a bit older now. When I say old, as in football terms, you don't know if he's going to be at the next, Asia Cup of tournaments and so on. Yeah. So I want him to win it, man. It's an inconvenience for us right now, but in the longer term or bigger picture, it's a great thing for Son and for Spurs. So, of course it does hinder us right now, but yeah, we should be able to beat Brentford, Everton, whoever else is coming up. And I know Lee feels a bit downbeat because of what happened with City, but I feel upbeat, man. I feel that when you take a look at the bigger picture, we've played really good in most of the games. Like Lee said, Villa, we absolutely smashed them. We should have been home and dry in the first half. Same with West Ham. City, we did really well at the Etihad, which was strange because we had a back four with all four fullbacks.
Yeah.
And then opposed to like Friday, where we had a more complete team and we didn't play as well. So sometimes you can't call it. You just got to go out there and play your game.
Yeah.
So, Go on, Vicky.
On the point, Pat, and come back in, I'll bring Ads in as well on this. And I think the thing is, Pat, again with City, I don't want to go back to it again because I know we've discussed it to death at the moment, but they have got a great way, City, of suffocating the opponent and not letting you really get a grip on the game or any sense of control. So I know ahead of the game, many were billing it as though this is going to be a goal fest. There's going to be goals everywhere. It's going to be, an all-entertaining, all-game fixture. But reality is when you play City, it's never really like that, Pat. And again, I just don't want that mood of the City game to really fester into this because Spurs have got a really good opportunity now to get back into the top four, of course, with a win here, and really start to put a run together of racking up the points. Right, Patty?
Exactly. And obviously I wasn't on the post-match presser, so I don't want to, or post-match podcast, I don't want to make this too much about City versus Tottenham. But what I will say is that when you watch Man City, you can see why they're as good as they are. They're so clever at every single part of football. And if you watch Kyle Walker, he was kicking the shit out of our players, but it's all kind of off the ball, or it looks a bit innocuous, but he knows what he's doing.
Dark arts.
Dark arts. We need to get a bit more smarter and cuter at that. Yeah. They did a lot of fouls. Every time we were building momentum, they would foul us, stop the game. The referee, for some reason, wasn't booking them when they were doing that, but he was quick to book our players. And we're not going to play a Man City every week. We're going to hardly play a team on that caliber. So sometimes we've got to obviously remember Pep's been there for 6 years, 5 years, whatever it is. Ange's been there for 6-7 months. Let's put things into perspective. Yes, it's never nice to get beat. Yes, it's never nice to lose like that. They did suffocate us, but it's not going to be like that every week. But now is the time to really get things in motion and to go on another run. But I can't really remember the question you asked, Ricky. It was a long time ago, but I am going into this upbeat. I want the guys that are not here to go as far as they can. Obviously, at some point, a Sarr or whoever's got to come back. So not a Sarr, Basumo or Son, but yeah, man, let them go all the way. We'll be all right without them.
I agree. Ads bringing you in, just in relation to the forward line, because again, there's been as you know, murmurings and criticism, of course. Now, Brennan Johnson, for me, I think, has been really, really overplayed. I think, look, had it been a situation where we've had all the players available, I think Brennan would have probably been, I think, integrating very, very slowly. And essentially, you know, being given 20 minutes here, half an hour there. Kulusevski, I think, again, on his day, is an absolute world beater. Do we want to see more consistency in front of goal? I totally agree. You ever worried about the forward line at the moment? Is there a concern for you what forward options we've got?
I think the thing about, just the one thing I'd add on Son, because he's obviously been spoken about a lot for me, the thing that I've noticed that is missing is, it's not necessarily the goals, and it's probably, related to him when he's not on form, it's the running off the ball he does and the runs that he makes. He makes diagonal runs, he runs in behind, he stretches teams, he moves players about with his movement, and he puts fear in other teams because, with Son, he can go either way. He can run inside, he can go outside, he can go through the middle, he can go, so whereas, and again, I'm not criticising Johnson, but, as you said, Johnson's a young kid and he's, taking a step up and he's almost a bit predictable in what he's going to do right now. And Kulusevski, I'm a huge fan of Kulusevski. I think he's outstanding the way he carries the ball, the way he holds it up and brings it. When he plays on the left, though, he is a bit predictable now. He does always come inside. He does always cut in. And I think when you're playing the elite teams like City, they're the types of games where you're going to get found out with someone like Johnson. And it's not a criticism of Johnson, but Son, would scare the City defence. They play a high line and stuff like that. And then when you just lose a little bit of that, it's missing. But I think, having hopefully Maddison back and Kulusevski there, that there's enough in the front three and having Maddison back in our team to be creative, to create enough. I'm quite interested to see, Werner makes good runs. He's very fast. I'm quite interested to see what that link up with Maddison looks like. Where, a lot of the feedback after the City game, which I didn't see, was, Werner was making a lot of great runs, but no one was playing it in. Well, Maddison's the absolutely perfect person to be doing that. So I'm really interested to see what that looks like tomorrow and going forward, actually.
Absolutely. I must make the point there. I mean, as they're running off some of the players there, of course, that we've got in relation to the forward line. We have got some conclusive updates in terms of where Spurs are now going into Wednesday's game against Brentford. So obviously we know Arsenal, of course, now have beaten Nottingham Forest by 2-1. We also know Aston Villa have lost against Newcastle United, which does mean for Tottenham now, a win for Tottenham would see Spurs go into the top 4. And potentially, I'd say, be there ahead of the weekend's game against Everton. That's why, again, I think it's really, really important that Spurs now do really go on that run that I'm talking about, because there's a real opportunity here to really consolidate, a top 4 finish. And I think, again, we mentioned that point, and Pat said it towards the start of the show, that all these clubs from next week onwards have got European football. God, look, of course, we'd all love to have European football, but it's an opportunity to really have, with that one game a week, obviously time on the training ground, an opportunity for Ange to work with the players, to coach with the players. Of course, Dragoshin fairly new. Timo Werner, I still think with Timo Werner, from what we saw from the opening game at Old Trafford, I think that guy you can rely on, I believe.
I agree. I do agree.
And,
I'm getting pumped up now.
Yeah, and you know what? I have to say on Timo Werner for a second, the guy had multiple opportunities to be fed in against City. And if he had one of those opportunities to be fed in, who knows what could have happened. But,
his stats, by the way, his stats, like, he got a load of grief. His stats at Chelsea were a goal or assist every other game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were really good stats.
Yeah, no, good. I don't know, but can I bring something on a graphic? Don't worry. It's, you can see it on the thing, but I think I'm going to bring this up. It's an overlay, Rick.
That's fine. We have to stick with that.
That looks right. You can see us.
That's all right. It's cool.
That's pretty cool, man. Okay, so sorry, listeners on audio, I've just put up a graphic here of what I think. So this is Lee McQueen's 11, essentially. Sorry for the third person, but what I think that we should potentially be looking at against Brentford tomorrow. So I've got Vicario in goal, with Doggy left back, Porro right back, Van der Ven and Romero as our centre back, Bentancur as a 6. And then I'm playing Kulusevski and Maddison as kind of 2 8s or 2 10s, whichever way you want to look at it. Vern on the left, Johnson on the right, and with Charleston up top. Now, that is quite a risky team. And, there's quite a lot of attacking in there. But I think that's what we need. What would you replace? Put it in the comments as well, viewers, but perhaps on the panel, what would you replace? Yeah. Would you keep Kulusevski out wide, put Johnson on the bench?
I'll be stunned, Macca. I'll be stunned if Johnson plays tomorrow. With no disrespect or tonight for the listeners and audio, I think you're more likely to see Kulusevski go out wide into more of his natural position. And I would imagine one of Skip or Højbjerg will come into the team. And I'll let Ads come in because I see Ad is jumping at the bit there on the basis that I think, Højbjerg has just clarified his future before the game. I think it's very unlikely. I think one of Skip or Højbjerg won't start. Ads, what do you think for you?
Because I think whilst that team would be, sort of like Ozzy Ardila's era, an all-out attack, I think
beautiful.
The problem with started Johnson isn't anything against him, but if he starts, we have no one on the bench to come on in an attacking sense. So I think that's when you normally see a manager leaving somebody. So that if you have to make a change, you can bring on Johnson, and then you can move Kulusevski, or you can do something. And I think if you start that, it's almost like, well, that's all the attacking players. And if it's not working, you're going to bring on Højbjerg. What's it really going to do? My personal view, I thought Skip looked good a couple of games ago. I can't remember which game it was, the one before the Man City
United.
Yeah, I think he had a pretty good game. Yep. I'd much prefer Skip sitting deeper and with Bentancur a bit further. I think he's got a decent passing range. I think for me, whenever I've seen Skip, once he has a run of games playing, he looks much, much, much better than one game, nothing, one game, 5 games out, one game. And so on.
The only thing I'd say on that, and the reason why I put Bentancur in as a 6 is because he on the half turn is outstanding. I think he's as good, if not better, than Basuma. So he can protect the ball, he can come short, deep, get it off the defence, and turn. And I just think with him and Maddison, that team, like being, I don't know. Look, I take the point on Johnson. I think that's a good point on Johnson.
And it could also be that he starts Maddison and he starts a team like that. And actually knowing that Maddison's never going to last 90 minutes. And that's where you could then shift it around and bring in a Skip or a Højbjerg and push Bentancur further forward. But I'd be surprised if, managers generally hold back something on the bench to change things.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think the deep line, Pat, what are you thinking in kind of the deep lining role? Because, again, I don't want to have a go at Højbjerg, and sorry, Rick, but I don't want to have a go at Højbjerg. But for those of you, for those of you that want to know who the key point was, the Fulham game, the Wolves game, and the City game, it was Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. He started every one of them 3 games, and what he
we're going to try and get Lee back. I will just say, once Lee's talking there, the other thing I would say about Højbjerg, I know Lee's going to make his point, is that I felt up until Pat 80 minutes against City, I thought it was really, really good. And he had that kind of massive rush to the head, Pat, in the last 10 where he just lost his mind, Højbjerg. Which, to be fair, was a bit bizarre because he played ever so well. And I know that narrative with Højbjerg, I've got to say that I think many, again, I would agree with the fact that it seems to be a lot better for Tottenham when he comes off the bench. I think when Højbjerg starts games, for whatever reason, doesn't look like the same player. So I think Andrew's got a bit of a dilemma there to make with regards to this game. Does he start Højbjerg? I mean, again, I thought it was pretty key, the fact that they've had the lawyer come out of Højbjerg, who's, again, a reported, obviously, person of interest of him, that says the guy's going to stay. Because ultimately, obviously, what you would see by that is the fact that they wanted future clarified going in, of course, to the deadline day. I mean, Pat, I'll let you come and answer that question that Lee's mentioning there. Team-wise for you, what do you make of it?
Yeah, no, I like this team. I really like this team. And if it was me, I would go for this team exactly as well. I would go strong. I'll go hard at the beginning, kill the game, and then you can bring on like a Højbjerg to see it out. But I do believe, I'm with Adam, I don't think Bentancur, Kulu and Maddison start. I believe that probably Skippy will start. And just for a bit more solidarity and a bit more defensive protection. Skip has looked okay in the last couple of games. I've got to call a spade a spade. It's not one of my favourite players. Neither is Højbjerg. But I thought Højbjerg was really good against Man City. I will obviously take that little 5-minute segment where he gave the ball away twice to City and they should have capitalised on it, off of it. I'll kind of park that to the side and look at the whole game. Thought he had a really good game. And it's a weird one because when Højbjerg plays for Denmark and he pushes a bit more forward, he's a very good player. Like like I said earlier on another podcast, you know, we do so many, but Højbjerg is a good player. Technically, he sounds, hence why the teams that are coming in for him and looking at him are very, very good teams. Yeah, but it just doesn't fit. He's a square peg in a round hole right now. He doesn't fit where we want to play. The same with Skip. But I've seen Skip do some decent things, like that pass to Werner against Man United. One touch, fizzed it into Werner, literally on the money. Werner should have scored. Like you couldn't believe that was Skip. That was Maddison
against City, right?
Yeah,
and I'm not having to go at Højbjerg, right? Because he played the best forward pass in that City game for Tottenham Hotspur. He played the best forward pass. It was in the first half, and it was an unbelievable needle-threaded ball through ball, triangle on PlayStation. It was brilliant. But
I think Højbjerg.
It's really difficult to argue. Sorry, but it's really difficult to argue or debate the fact that Højbjerg started the game against Fulham. We lost. I know it went on penalties, but we didn't play Ange ball. It weren't about the result. We didn't play Ange ball. Højbjerg also started against Wolves, and we didn't play Ange ball. And Højbjerg also started against Man City, and we didn't play Ange ball. And that's my point. And maybe it's a bit harsh, but that's. I think if you push up, I think the number 6 role in Ange's team is absolutely critical to flip the play really quickly, to go on the half turn, to take the ball. Basuma was amazing at doing that in the first 10 games. Bentancur can do that better than anyone else in the team. That's why I've got him as a 6.
Come in for me on that point.
Yeah, no, I think like the Højbjerg one, he's become sort of like the scapegoat where like everyone.
I'm not calling him a scapegoat.
And I do agree now. And you know, the way we play football now, it is a problem for him moving the ball quickly and so on. I think he's been really good when he's come off the bench in most games, and he's actually made a significant impact in those games. And actually, you make a really good point about him playing deep and getting the ball and turning it and playing it out. But I do also think, you know, every player gives the ball away in a football match. It happens, but every time he does it, it's like, you know, everyone's on him.
Yes, true.
You know, but I think part of the problem is, you know, as he wasn't playing, and you see Sarr and Basuma playing well and Maddison, and then Højbjerg comes on and makes a couple of mistakes, and everyone's immediately on him. I think picking him out for the Fulham game, he made it 10 outfield changes, and he played an entire reserve team. So I think you know, again, to single out everybody was abysmal that game. The Wolves game was after the Chelsea game where we had 7 players out, you know, and I've seen him be man of the match a few years ago against Man City, and you know, Man City can make you look like mugs against anybody. But I do agree.
He was good against Man City. I think the overall team, instead of maybe calling out Højbjerg, maybe what I should be saying is he doesn't fit in an Ange ball system.
Yeah, I agree. He fit perfectly in Mourinho's team.
Yeah, and I think
which is where he was bought.
I think it's because he slows the game down so much. Yeah. There's no quick turn pass with what he's got it in his locker. I think that's the frustrating thing. People might have a go at me for saying this. I think he's got it in his locker, but he doesn't. Remember Scott Parker back in the day used to be able to turn on a sixpence or whatever. Do you remember? Yeah, exactly. Scott Parker swivel or whatever. And then you look at the Dembele, you couldn't get the ball off him. You look at even Luka Modric used to come deep and then drop a shoulder and bang, he's gone, which is what Bentancur can do. And I think that's, you know, Basuma can do that. He's press resistant. I think Bentancur's press resistant. I don't unfortunately think Skip and or Højbjerg are press resistant.
I think Skippy's okay at that. You've seen him turn. I think when Skip is confident and playing. I think when Skip is confident and playing, I think there was a period where he had that run under Conte where he played a lot of games in a row and he was a really good player, powerful, really good in the tackle, carried the ball, could do the half turn. He's been out for a long time and he's barely played. And I think it is very difficult for any player to like hit that form. And I think he'll take a bit of time. I'd rather he played than Højbjerg personally in that team.
I know many feel the same as that. I've got to agree on that. But many do feel the same. They'd rather see Skip given the minutes rather than Pierre. I mean, I think again, I wouldn't downplay the fact that there wanted to be that clarity there. The fact that with a lawyer coming out saying Højbjerg is going to stay here, wants to commit his future between now and the end of the season. I think that was quite important.
Do you know what that says to me, though?
Go on.
Do you know what that says? In my experience in working in football, it is they've been trying to get him a move and nothing's come off, so he's staying.
But I mean, do you not think? Yeah, but do you not think, Adson, answer this really? I mean, would Spurs have already got the money they would have wanted in January enough then to go out and replace Højbjerg?
Well, I think that's I think Spurs have gone. They've obviously tried to move him somewhere.
Mm.
And then it was, well, the Leon move's not happening. So he said, well, actually, I'm going to stay. And that happens a lot. Players like, right, you can go somewhere if you can get a club. At the minute, Leon have come in for you, and he's just like, no, I don't want to play for Leon. I'm happy to stay.
I agree.
Yeah.
Listen, Ads, I want to stick with you if I can, Ads, only because Lee and Pat are going to feature on our deadline day special. So I need to ask you, Ads, about the window in general. I mean, Anne just said ahead of this game that in relation to doing more business, it's unlikely. His words were, I don't see any incomings. Outgoing's a little bit different, as I'm not really engaged with that, but unlikely on both fronts without anything out. So just to clarify where we are with Spurs in the market, of course, we're on the 30th of January recording this, Ads. Incomings has been Timo Werner, alone with an option to buy of around 17 million euros, and Radu Dragusin has come in of a fee of around 25 million euros. Outgoing so far this window, Hugo Lloris on a free, Eric Dyer, a loan but set to depart for a free in the summer. Jed Spence, of course, with that loan and an option to buy of 10 million euros to Genoa. Japhet Tanganga, of course, a loan. He joined Millwall. Sergio Reguilon, of course, he joined Brentford, but he will be ineligible for that game against them later on tonight. And Ivan Perisic, a loan and set to depart for free in the summer. And Ashley Phillips, of course, going out to Plymouth, along with Alfie Devine as well. Ads, give me your thoughts. You've been on here for many, many transfer windows. I mean, thoughts on it for you? If I offered you those two players in, happy?
Honestly, the list of outgoings there, I forgot about most of them. I think that the ones that have gone out are almost like irrelevant. They're just like a part of those like 8 or 9 players in the squad that are just, they're not part of the squad really. Phillips is a young kid, fine. It was absolutely essential. We got a centre back. I think the realistic thing, I think I said this a while ago, is no one buys 5 players realistically in January. It doesn't really happen. You don't overturn things. You do what you can get. 2 is always around what most people do. 3 would be very good. But again, unless you can trade in Jan, you're not sure. The centre-back was a really good addition. He looks like a beast. And I think Timo Werner, I think, is also a very good player. And I think overall, we are, when the window closes, we're in a much stronger position than we were beforehand. Everyone can sit there and go, I'd love another one. I'd love another one. I'd love another player. But I also think, with Sonny and Bissouma back, our squad is pretty strong. I think when I was on at the beginning of the season or at the end of the transfer window, I think I said then we are I think I said we're a centre-back light and probably a striker light, but it's going to be very rare that all of our centre-backs and strikers are out at the same time. And then we went to Chelsea and that's exactly what happened, right? Where everything fell apart. So I think the reality is we've got, if you add in that Emerson can play at centre-back and Davis can play at centre-back, and now you've got these 3, we're really strong in defence and goalkeeper, really strong. I think we're really, really strong in central midfield if you go through all of the players we've got. And then I think once you hit Sonny back, I think we are pretty strong in attack. The bit where it's just like, well, we've not replaced somebody that left in the summer with a like-for-like replacement. I agree on that. But I think in terms of bodies and quality, Solomon to come back, I think we're in a really strong position. And I think now it'll be about hopefully getting top 4. And then I think Ange will be looking in the summer to upgrade in certain positions.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So I think overall I'm happy. I think we're strong. If you think Bissouma's going to be back soon, Son's back, you think the squad is pretty strong.
I can't just say it. I think that's the first time in 7-8 years you've been on here. I never said that. In terms of coming out of a window and being fairly satisfied, right? I mean, you've been on it for many, many years. I think we've all said and shared our frustrations that with every win that's gone by, there's always been a feeling we should do more, we could do more. And I think this is, for me, similar to you, Ads, without going too much into detail, that I'm not fairly despondent if it does close now. But again, I will add that point, and I'll come around to the boys on this as well, that we are having news coming into us here, and we're obviously on deadline day Eve for our listeners and audio, that Brighton have opened talks with Tottenham over a move for the out-of-favour attacker Brian Hill. It's expected that Hill has been given the green light to leave the football club. It's understood that Brighton are looking to secure the deal on an initial loan, but I must add he's also attracting interest from Nottingham Forest. So, Pat, come around to you. I think the one criticism I've had in relation to Hill going out, whether it be on loan or a transfer, is that the guy's never actually had any Premier League experience other than Tottenham, which hasn't been a huge amount. So, Pat, if he goes out on loan to Brighton and they don't take up the option to buy, is there any chance he's still got a career at Spurs if he gets this decent football of the Premier League under his belt for 4 or 5 months, Pat?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've said it so many times. I don't want to see Bryan Gil. If we want to see if he's good enough to play at Spurs, he needs to play in the Premier League. What's the point of sending him to La Liga or Serie A? It's a completely different league, different tempo, different intensity. You know, he needs to play in the Premier League, albeit it could be anyone, Brighton, Nottingham Forest, Luton, whoever it may be, where he can play week in and week out, and we can actually see what the kid's about. And if he can't get into a Brighton team or a Forest team or wherever he goes, then ultimately he's not good enough to play for Tottenham, because if you're not getting into that team, you're never going to get into ours. But also at the same time, if we don't see him against the caliber of players that we're going to be playing against, then what's the point? You know, he's of age now. He's not a youngster. For me, he just needs, he's technically very sound. He's a good player, but he just needs to get his mentality right and bulk up. And he also needs to have some confidence to take his man on. Every time he gets the ball, he's passing it backwards or sideways. He's never really trying to beat his man. And that's what I thought we signed him for. You know, a technically gifted, tricky winger that can beat his man and obviously whip in a cross or, you know, deliver a dead pass or score. I've not seen... Sorry, go on, Ads, go on.
I was going to say, when you're talking about him bulking up and stuff like that, I think he's a really technically good player. I just think he's going to be one of those players that is not suited to the Premier League.
But when I say bulked up, because he doesn't have to obviously come back and be like, you know, put on loads of muscle, but he just needs to be a bit more solid, because Luka Modric or David Silva or the guys that are kind of like his build, they didn't get knocked off the ball as much as he does. So it's just about having that strong, solid core, good low center of gravity, and able to maneuver. There's
more passes and taking people on bit that you mentioned.
Yeah,
I think
he's got no.
Every time you watch him, we played against Man City, didn't he? At the Etihad. He came on against Man City at the Etihad because we were stretched. Every single time he cut back. Every single time. Like, then not once did he take a man on. Not once did he drop a shoulder and have a little run, shimmy. I remember, it might have been a Champions League game. I can't remember if it was at Portsmouth in the FA Cup last season when he got the penalty. I think it was a Champions League game, wasn't it? And he came on and he was all over the place. He was running and ducking and diving, and he got a penalty. And Kane missed the penalty. It was the second penalty that Kane had, and I think he missed it. But he'll come on. I was away at Palace when we smashed them 4-0, and that was when the crowd was booing Emerson Royale, which was absolute disgrace. And Bryan Gil was brilliant. He was fantastic. He was going forward. He was passing forward. He got an assist that day. Just flashes. And again, maybe it comes back to Ad's point about Skippy earlier. They don't have enough game time. They're not playing regularly enough. Maybe it's that. Sorry to totally butt in, Pat, but I think on Bryan Gil, I think that if he goes to Brighton, I don't even think
Can you just go to Brighton and stop you from doing that?
Brighton, I don't think he plays, because he's going there potentially as a left winger.
He must be going. Yeah,
I know Matoma's injured, right? But not being funny, as soon as Matoma's back, he don't get the game. It's a complete waste of time. He needs to go to a lower league team, in my opinion. He needs to go to a championship side, like Coventry or something.
Then we need to get rid of him, Lee. With all due respect, then there's no point. On that. Like, come on, like if he's not playing,
I'll agree with you, Pat. If he can't get to Brighton's team, what's the point?
And the Championship, imagine him in the Championship. He'll just honestly, he'll get absolutely smashed. Can you imagine? I wouldn't let him go there. It would not be fair on him, because he would get absolutely be carved in half. It will be horrific.
Well, I mean, I think that's one of them, isn't it? I mean, strategy has been brilliant, still cooking in the background, and a lot of the signings, the recruitment at Tottenham has been fantastic. But I think when you look at Lamela plus 25 million for Bryan Gil, then ultimately you've got a scenario, haven't you, where you probably go, that ain't worked out.
I would take Lamela right now. I would take Lamela right now over him. Like, honestly, we should have never got rid of Lamela if this is the case. It's a shame.
Yeah.
Go on, Ad. Sorry, go on.
I don't agree with that on Lamela. Yeah, but
you say that. Can I just say, you say that on Lamela? You say on Lamela just to come in there, Ad, so you can come back on that. You don't think we would have had more of a return out of Lamela
Yes, I do.
Exactly. Come on.
I do.
Yeah.
Would Lamella have been better?
We should have kept Lucas Moura. We should have kept Lucas. Come on, man.
No,
we
but
should have kept him.
Lamella
At least
did
we've
stuff
moved
when
him
he
on.
came on.
Sorry,
Did stuff
sorry.
when he
I
came
just want to add some point on this. Sorry, I'd go for it.
No. I just think I'm not saying it's not a Lamella or a Hill thing. I just think Paratici came in. He was one of Spain's youngest top prospects. There are lots of players that come to the Premier League and it doesn't quite work. I just don't think physically. Pam makes a very good point about David Silva and Luka Modric, but David Silva was a world-class player or a top international footballer before he came to Man City. Luka Modric was, a top footballer before he came. Gil came as a young kid with a lot of potential. And I just think when he comes on, you look at him and you think, not even if he's bulked out, he looks smaller than me. And I'm small, right? He looks so tiny. He almost looks like a mascot coming out. He does that. I'm not. He looks so small.
I mean,
he does, doesn't he? I don't know how tall he is. I just think he is. He's
2 foot what? 2 foot what?
I don't know. I'm 5'7", so he can't be more than 5'2". He's got to be up to there on me or something. I'd smash him as well.
Come on your shoulders.
But yeah, I just think he'll go to Spain and be a decent player. He'll be a good technical player in Spain.
I stand by that point though. I mean, I honestly believe now, had you said, when you look at what that guy, with no disrespect, he's gone out on loan the last 2, 3, 4 seasons. And I know many at the time, I think when Lamella was going, I think many agreed at the time, Lamella had to go. There was an argument he maybe should have left the year before that. But I honestly believe the fact Lamella did frustrate the life out of me, but he was one of my favourite players just because of, again, not for his actual, outward contribution, but I just liked him as a player, right? But I honestly felt over the last 3, 4 years, you would have got more out of Lamella than what you would out of Hill, right?
Of course, but you gamble, right? Teams do that. Players, we always talk about you need to move players on at certain times, and you've spoken about it here millions of times, and you need to replace them with young up and coming. Paratici made a call. We can get rid of Lemmer. It's time to move him on. Here's a good young kid to come in for the future. And it hasn't worked. Only in hindsight could you say, well, we could have kept Lamella and got more out of it. Yeah.
I mean, at the time, everyone was going mad at the fact we've got, as we mentioned here, Spain's next wonder kid in Brian Hill, but no one could really imagine what's to come with regards to what has come.
That's what will be happening with Nusa. We signed Nusa, right? And that's we got the next wonder kid. It's gonna be, and then he ends up being I
remember when we signed Everson and he was the next hottest striker in world football.
Yeah, exactly.
We've all been there. Jonathan Blondell, Mikel Achimovic, Postiga.
We could go on all night with this.
Yeah, sorry.
Reto
Ziegler.
NG. Clinton NG. He was playing last night. He was playing last night, mate.
There was the other one.
Spurs Fest last night, that game.
I still think
the other one was playing recently.
Sergio Clinton NG, Pape Matasar. I mean, they're all over it, mate.
Willem Colston's the one that always reminds me. He scored a cut against United. Never heard of him again.
That was his last ever game, the last game of the season. He scored 3-1. Absolutely. He was injured for 3 years and then smashed one in the top corner, wasn't he? Remember that game? 3-1.
Oh my God. Those were the days we had to have. Can I just say, those were the days where there was genuine need of therapy for Tottenham in the 90s. If we had been around in the 90s, we would have been millionaires back then. Could you imagine? Pat would have been cashing in, my man. I tell you, different times now. I mean, it was so bad then. Calling the CFAX up, give me something. Just give me anything. Right.
Well, to be fair, I saw a post on. I need to give him a shout. I can't remember his name. I'll find it. I'll give him a shout because it's a brilliant picture. It was Ray Clements in goal, and it was that era. So Holston. And they were all queuing up to get on the Spurs coach. And it was a Spurs coach. It was a coach with Spurs on it and Holston right down the side. It was outside the Bill Nick gates, as in the old White Hart Lane. And it made me laugh, actually, because I was like, so we did have a Spurs bus under my previous boss, obviously Lord Sugar. We did have a Spurs bus. So Paratici didn't invent the Spurs bus. It must have been something that this current ownership took away, right? We're never the bus. We're just, you know what I mean? Because all of a sudden, when Paratici came in, it was quite famous, wasn't it? That he went, you've got to have a branded bus, you've got to have a branded coach, and that's quite interesting that we had one back in the day.
I totally agree. Look, we are going to try and move things on to where we are with relation to Brentford again. But I will just say, Ange has spoken about the fact of the window itself and how that's panned out with Johan Langer being in place. And it's been a bit different. I've been less involved than I was in the summer, it's fair to say. But obviously it's good. And obviously the window's a little bit trickier because I had games in the summer and there are no games. So if I need to put more energy into that side of things, I could. I think it is worth me also adding, Ange gave a number of decent, really good answers to that presser that he had earlier today. With relation to where the team are 6 months on now. He said, look, I think the other night against City gives us some real perspective. We're a little bit in terms of our destination, but in terms of our starting point, I really believe we have genuinely made progress, both in terms of the squad and our football. He was asked what encourages him most about the Spurs squad. He said, look, just the progress the players are making. I've seen real growth in a lot of our players, even from that first game. He was asked, are you happy where the team are and where they want to be? He said, look, I don't think I've ever set before expectations. I just want to see really some growth. Am I seeing that? Most certainly, both in the playing group, but also in our football. And again, what was one of the takeaways from that presser was the Moose, obviously West Ham through and through, answered and posed the question that it's rare for you, Ange, to go a season without winning a trophy, which will probably happen this season. Is top 4 now for you a success? In which Ange remarked back, so we can't win the league? I mean, look, could you imagine if that was Conte or Mourinho ads? Isn't it refreshing as to have a manager that actually, whether he means it genuinely, but, he's not giving it up regardless, ads, right?
Yeah, I mean, I actually watched that interview and, Moose is a big West Ham fan, isn't he? So he always likes to have a little dig at Spurs. And I think it was more that. But I think I said this at the beginning, didn't I? That, rather than saying, yeah, we're going for top 4, whether Ange actually believes we can win the league or not is another thing. But it's about changing the mentality. We can win the league. We're in the title race. We're however many points off. It's not that many. If there have been league titles, Arsenal were 8 points clear last season, and Man City won the league. So it's absolutely, achievable. And it's about changing the mentality of the club and being positive and and saying it how it is. So I think he's very good like that. I like it.
One thing I have to ask you boys, because all of you haven't even got this question from me yet. I mean, Ad's obviously not. He was asked, Ange, about the fact that he obviously is used to moving around family, and this is with relation to the fact that regarding rebuilds, Klopp, of course, the breaking news over the last week has been Jurgen Klopp, of course, going to be leaving Liverpool. And again, I don't want to make a song and dance about this because hopefully it's nothing, and hopefully Xabi Alonso goes to Liverpool and we don't have to worry about the summer and what's to come because Spurs are in a really, really good vibe at the moment. But as we've said on here, and it's obviously well known, Ange, as a kid, was a Liverpool fan. And one thing that did strike me a little bit in that presser, and I don't say this to worry anyone, but again, you can't get away from the fact that the guy's in his 60s now. Getting to the Premier League was a massive, massive, I'm sure, ambition of his. I'm sure he's delighted that Spurs gave him that opportunity. But what he did say, which I thought was quite interesting about rebuilds and the fact that he doesn't normally stay around at clubs longer than 2 or 3 years because he doesn't like doing the same rebuild, or 57, thankfully, more than once at a football club. He said, I haven't based any decision in my life around security or contracts because I've probably left secure positions for unsecure positions because that's how I am as a person. Now, I mean, I'll ask you, Lee, have you got any worry whatsoever? And the reason why I say this is, as Spurs fans, we have been scarred over the last, I don't know, however many years, that we've had some genuine top talent that we've absolutely adored and then do leave us when we're absolutely in love with them. And I remember picking up the paper when Robbie Keane was linked with Liverpool, and I thought, there's no way Keane will go to Liverpool. He's Spurs through and through. What happens in that summer? He goes to Liverpool. I mean, are you fairly confidently, if an offer came in for Ange in the summer, he'd rebuff that and think, I've got something really special at Tottenham. Nothing would take me away from this.
No, I mean, the biggest one that hit me the most was Nuno, Espirito Santo. Honestly, when Nuno was there and after them 10 games, I was like, oh, man.
Was it even 10?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm confident. I'm confident with Ange. I don't think he comes across as somebody like that. I think it's difficult. It's a difficult one. Did he rule it out? Did somebody in his presser ask him out? Why would you?
No,
be interested?
Can I just be clear? No one has asked him the question. No one has asked him that question. No,
fair
no one's
enough.
asked.
I mean, look, I think that the boyhood thing. It's a little bit like Mikel Arteta. I mean, I don't like Lego Ed, to be fair, but I respect the fact that he's come out this week straight away and gone fake news. I ain't going to Barcelona. I quite like that because people were linking him like 2 and 2 = 5 or whatever it is. Now I'm sure I put a tweet out to say that as soon as Klopp said he was leaving, I said, how long is it going to be before the media starts selling Edge? And I think somebody linked him to it straight away, which is is what
well,
it is.
I must just say on that point, it is again for those that don't like the fact that it's a credible journalist from the Athletic that has leaked that, and whether we like it or not, I just think hopefully we need to answer the question because Xabi Alonso will go there and it will be a non-question to ask. But I mean, the fact of the matter is,
I just think the Liverpool thing, Rick. I just think that there's a Xabi Alonso, there's still a Steven Gerrard. Regardless of what Gerrard done at Villa, he's an utter legend at Liverpool. There's still some other managers. I mean, I reckon you probably put De Zerbi in front of Ange Postecoglou for the Liverpool job. You've still got his current assistant that I know is leaving, but who knows? Do you know what I mean? Like, does he take over the Klopp revolution? So I think even down a pecking order, I'd be worried if the club were coming out and going, Ange Postecoglou's our number one. I'd be worried. I'd be a bit more worried about that, but I think it's okay.
Well, I mean, Pat, do you have an opinion on that for you? Any concern? I mean,
we can't have nice things, though, can we, team? Like, let's be fair. Spurs fans can't have nice things.
You know what? I only asked the questions because, again, I think I asked the questions that many fans would be intrigued to know because the fact of the matter is, reality is, Ange, of course, has come here, Pat. He's in his, late 50s, early 60s, or whatever you want to say. And again, for him, coming into the Premier League was an ambition. I think, managing one of the greatest clubs, I'm going to say in the world because I'm a Spurs fan. But I do want to believe that, I've said this before, achieving things with Tottenham, Pat, would be so much more special than doing it at City, a Liverpool, an Arsenal, a Chelsea. I think, Spurs have taken to him and the fan base has taken to Ange so quickly. And I am a paranoid Rick, which is why I'm answering the question, Pat. I mean, you got any concern for you?
Nah, no concerns whatsoever. I think it's a non-starter, and it won't be long before he comes out and says, yeah, I'm staying at Tottenham. Of course, like, anytime we do well, all of our players or managers get linked to other clubs or bigger clubs if and when the situation arises. But yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it. These things always happen. And then literally like Sonny, when he's come out and shut down rumours and this person, it's fine. It's fine. It just shows that we're doing well whenever they want to, upset the apple cart and rock what's going on. But yeah, don't worry about it, man. It's cool. I'm not worried whatsoever. We're going to be fine. And just building something. I don't think he's going to go. Liverpool are, I know they're a massive club and they've done exceptionally well in the last couple of years, but their model's not really that great. If you look at it, they have to sell to buy. Even their whole big rebuild was only because the Coutinho money came through, and they obviously spent it really well. They bought in, Van Dijk and Alisson and kind of started again. But, FSG, the Liverpool fans don't really like them. They say that they don't spend like they should. There's a lot of issues there, and Klopp's leaving, his whole backroom staff is leaving. Of course, they're a huge club. Van Dijk's even come out and said he doesn't know if he's going to re-sign because he needs to see who the manager is. And there's a lot of uncertainty there. Sarr hasn't signed or extended yet. So, let's see how things go, man. But I think with Ange doing what he's doing, and then you've got obviously the stuff hanging over Man City. Arsenal, even though they're winning games, they're still not looking as good as they did last year. There is time for us to really push on if Daniel Levy backs Ange properly. Obviously, once the transfer window closes, we'll be able to really assess what's happened this window and how we all feel. But yeah, I don't see him leaving, man. I think he's onto a good thing. I think the fans can see it, the media can see it, and they will try all of these things to upset us because they always do it. But we're fine, Ricky. Don't worry, man.
And I appreciate, Ads, that I'm probably giving ammunition here for a conversation that many won't want to hear. And again, the reason why I'm doing that, Ads, is that far down the line, I don't want to age you either. I'm just a paranoid wreck as a Spurs fan that when things are going great, I just worry something could go wrong. I mean, have you got any
concern? It would be the media, Rick, selling
I think because this is a Spurs pod, I think sometimes people get overexcited about their own club, and I think Pat's talking about Liverpool when they got this. The reality is Liverpool are an absolute juggernaut of global football historically. and you can't get away from that. And I think the same Salah might go. They are an absolute juggernaut in world football. They're one of the greatest teams of all time. They've won absolutely everything. They are a huge club and a huge pull. So I don't think we need to. I think understating what a club they are, I think, is a bit. I don't think we should do that. But I think the Ange stuff is nonsense. For one reason, I don't believe that Liverpool don't have a plan. Klopp wouldn't come out and done his press conference last week, whenever it was, and said, "I'm leaving," without having a clear succession plan in place with Liverpool. And that probably would have started months ago, I suspect. He wouldn't have made the decision a week ago. He probably made the decision over the summer.
I think he was saying in November he was considering it. I think. I mean,
so I think then he would have spoken to Liverpool, and the reason he probably spoke out is because it was in the press, or it was going to be leaked. So he decided to do it on his terms. So I suspect there will be a clear plan in place. And I don't think after 2 months or 3 months of Ange, if it was in November being at Spurs, he would be in that equation. I think they would be looking for a longer term successor, potentially like a Xabi Alonso, a younger manager to go for a longer period of time. My gut feel as well would be I don't. Although Ange hasn't stayed at clubs for a long time, he doesn't seem like the person who would just walk out quite quickly. Like he closed a chapter at Celtic, he's won stuff and done everything and moved on.
Yeah.
I don't think he would just go, "I've been here a year, right? I've got something better now." I don't think he would do that. And actually, the thing about him being somewhere a short space of time was he said he has. Because I saw an interview at the beginning of the season. He said every club I've been to, I've gone there with the plan of being there for 8 to 10 years. But things have just turned out where I've left after 2 or 3 for whatever reason it might be, which is a normal cycle for a manager. So I think you're being paranoid. And I also think we're generally, as a club, in a pretty strong position now compared to we were years ago where we had to sell to these bigger clubs.
I'll just be honest with you, lads. When I read what I read in that press, and again, I will read it so people don't think I'm going absolutely mental. He said, "I haven't based any decision in my career around security or contracts because I've probably left secure positions for unsecure positions because I know that's how I am as a person. I know that is when I work best. Whether that changed over time, I don't know. I've never preempted it, that stuff, or put any timelines on it. It could be 2 years, it could be 3 years, it could be 4 years, it could be longer. But I've always moved whenever I felt there was another challenge there that I thought would be the best fit for me. I mean, all I can hope and all we can hope is that Spurs is the challenge. I mean, again, I know like many Aussies, of course, watch this show now, and Spurs have become their second, if not their favourite team. And I think the one thing that definitely I think has rejuvenated the fan base this season has been Ange. I mean, when you consider the fact of our mood, going into actually this fixture, the reversal of the fixture against Brentford, bringing it back to Brentford, to lose Harry Kane 48 hours before the start to the season. And again, I just need to remind people, that game against Brentford, right? We're going into that game, no Harry Kane. Romero scores, and then he takes him off. Now, that's Tottenham's best centre-back on the pitch in that game. That's a guy that is one of the vice-captains alongside James Maddison. And I've got to be honest and say that, at that time, many thought, Ange, are you losing your minds? But what I just loved about the guy is that his morals are absolutely so spot on. And that's why, again, I just really, really do hope, we haven't got a situation where this goes on for a while, this speculation over who the manager's going to be. I really hope Liverpool will announce that fairly quickly. It doesn't derail us because, again, yes, I'm a paranoid wreck. Yes, I'm a Spurs fan. We've been here, guys, over the course of the second half of the season where we've had situations with previous managers where we've had stories that haven't been shut down and allowed to derail the season. And that is where I think my worry and paranoia comes from. But I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to stop being a Spurs fan. I'm going to ask you guys for your predictions ahead of Brentford to come. A game in which we do know now for Spurs. A win takes us into the top 4. Macca, we'll start with you, my man. What are we going to go for?
3-0 Brentford.
Really?
3-0 Brentford.
He's winding us up.
I know why you're doing this. I know.
Mate, that was classic. I don't know. I'm worried about this one. Look, I think I'm going to take the worry away. I'm going to go positive, back to positive. Maybe I need to grow the beard back, get a bit more positive. Look, it's under lights. It's under it's at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's going to be rocking. Well, it needs to be rocking. Let's be honest about it. I'm having a rally cry here. I want a South Stand rocking. I want to see the people around me that normally sit around me, and I want them standing. I want them singing, and I want them cheering. I want them singing "Oh When the Spurs," and I want them to sing it slow, in the slow build up, and then build it up again. And when you think you're gonna
that's a shame.
You know, yeah, you know, that's what I want. I want to see Ange ball. I want to see us on the half turn, 1-2 touch football, spraying passes through. I want to see runs. I want to see the front three interchanging. If he does play Kulusevski on the left, on the right instead of Johnson, I want to see Kulu dropping. I want to see him dropping deep. I want to go beyond Richarlison. I want to see Richarlison come out to the left, get Werner down the middle, get Werner pressing. I want Werner back out on the left. I want them defenders thinking, what is going on? That's what I want to see.
You don't want much, do you, from this game?
I just want to see Ange ball. I want to see what we were looking at in the first 10 games of the season. I want to see that. I want to see us rip them apart like we ripped Villa and West Ham. And I know we didn't get the result. I want to see it. I want it to be clinical. And I think we need a big win. So I'm going to go for 1-0 Tottenham.
I wouldn't surprise me.
What we get and what we need is two different things, right? Look, I think. Look, all jokes aside, I think we'll win 3-1. I think Tony will score. I think it's an absolute classic. But I do think we'll put the ball in the back of the net, and I'm backing Richie to score. And I think Werner will actually score as well. And if Maddison starts, he pulls the strings for me. I think he's the difference between a struggling Spurs and a swashbuckling Spurs. Look at that one for a word.
Before I go to Pat for predictions, Pat, I just want to quickly ask Ad's thoughts with relation to some of the injuries we've got out at the moment. Ryan Sessegnon and Giovanni Lo Celso. I don't know how to put this politely. Two guys that feel like they're made of glass at the moment. Ad's very quick on those two before I come to Pat, and then you to predict.
You just said Sessegnon. He is the most frustrating. You know, he's just like, I don't know. He's just injured. Yeah. What has he done now? I didn't even. He played 10 minutes. He's done his hamstring again.
Back in rehab. We understand.
Yeah, he's just. Yeah, I mean, he's just been a disaster, hasn't he? And he looks scared of the football when he plays. He's just. Yeah. I mean, I just sell him. Lo Celso, I've said before, I like Lo Celso, but again, he's another one. He's like
can't stay fit.
No, he gets injured. Like his injuries are always really innocuous. Like he'll be playing and then he just goes off, and then he's like out. So. He
falls out the shower. That bloke is out for 4 weeks.
Well, he does though. He just doesn't come out at half time. It's just like he's out for a month because he's pulled a muscle. It's really, really strange. I don't know. But I mean, Sessegnon's are just frustrating because came with a lot of money, came with a lot of promise.
Yeah.
And he's just constantly injured the whole time.
I'm right in saying, Ads, if an offer comes in for Sess to get regular game time on the final day, you'd be up for that, getting him out on loan?
I'll sell him, yeah, definitely.
Yep. Lo Celso, Ads, I mean, I'll very quickly add on this point. This was meant to be the period without Maddison that we really needed Lo Celso to step up. He's not been here. He's not been around.
I know. And Jeremy said we had this chat about Lo Celso, didn't we? Where like I've always said that there's a player in there. Yeah. And I've seen enough in him this season when he's played, the goals he scored, the assists he made. He's definitely a good footballer, but he's another one that is either just gets injured and is never consistent enough because he that's
in full over now, by the way, in the background.
He's not played more than 5 games in a row, I don't think, for Spurs.
But I think hasn't.
No,
Mad.
So, yeah.
Ad, I'm going to come back around in a second to close the prediction with you. Let me go to Pat. Patty, you're there as well tomorrow night. I think you all guys are there tomorrow night. Pat, what are you going for Brentford? What are you going for?
Yeah, Lee stole my thunder because I was going to go 3-1. I think we'll win. I think we'll win big. I think it will be a good game. Like I said, take the City game out. We've been very good over the last couple of games. Brighton away, we weren't great at all. But other than that, we've played good football. Richarlison's in good form. Kulusevski's been playing well. Werner has looked good in the 2 games he's played. Man United, he was good and got an assist. Against Man City, he made a lot of promising runs. Wasn't fed, as we know. When he did get the ball, he's probably our most dangerous player going forward. And obviously, Pedro Porro's been, dishing in some lovely balls and assists. I think we've got a lot going for us at the moment. We just need to stay resolute defensively.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ange needs to make the right calls at the right time in terms of changing the game. Whether Maddison starts or doesn't start, he'll still get at least 25 good minutes in him. Yeah, we've got more than enough to beat them. Ivan Toney's a very dangerous player. I mean, obviously this year, 1 game, 1 goal. Last year, he was one of the only a handful of strikers that got 20 goals. He's a good player. So we need to watch out for him. But yeah, we've got more than enough to beat Brentford. I'm not worried about them. I think we'll beat them quite convincingly. And it's time for us to start playing Angeball again. Start, giving the other team something to worry about, because for the first 12 or so games, teams were scared to play us. We've kind of gone off the boil a bit, but obviously still maintain results. But I think from tomorrow onwards, it's time to start rocking and rolling. And yeah, everyone at the stadium, get behind the boys, make a lot of noise. We were quite flat against City, considering it as a do or die knockout game. I didn't really like the vibe in the stadium, so I want to see or feel a bit more of the Spurs fans I know. Do you know what I mean? I want to feel more of that away fans. Whenever I watch the games, when I don't go to the away games, we're amazing. I want to feel more of that in the stadium tomorrow. But yeah, other than that, I'm confident, man. I'm not worried. I don't feel any negative vibes. I don't know why some people are a bit. It's Brentford, with all due respect.
Oh,
I'm not trying to be cocky, but look we're on 40 points. They're on 22 points. We've scored 44 goals. They scored 29 goals. Everything screams the Tottenham win. So let's just do what we need to do.
I'm changing my prediction. 5-0.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. I love that. And even
come on, man, that's what we need.
We're not talking. Richarlison's playing good fucking football at the moment. Give him some credit. Yeah. Maddison, 5 goals, 3 assists. He's back in 11 games. Kulusevski's been an unsung hero, like I said. Pedro Porro, 7 assists in 20 games. That's insane for a fullback. Come on, man. Vicario's probably been the best goalkeeper in the league if his name's not Alisson. We've got more than enough to beat these teams. And I'm expecting a good win tomorrow. I really am.
Patty, thank you so much, my man. Maka, thank you so much. As we're going to close it with you, look, again, to re-emphasise these points here, Brentford's win over Forest last time out ended a 5-game losing run. They've lost their last 4 on the road. So, look, again, all the stats weigh in favour of Tottenham. We know what it normally means, but Ads, how do you feel about it? We should get the result right.
I feel like I need to give a whole speech like Pat and Lee did, but I'm just going to go easy win. Not easy win. I think 2 or 3-0.
Yeah.
Nice. What are you going for, Rick?
I'm going to go for a 3-1 Spurs win. If we can't beat Brentford, as Pat said, we might as well go home. Got to beat Brentford.
Yeah, no, we've got to, man.
People are backing the pigeon, mate. The pigeon is going to score. That's what all the comments are saying. So the listeners, all the people that are listening to tomorrow morning or this morning on your commute,
they might have to, can I just say, for those that listen on the commute, for those listening on the commute, they have to go listen to Andrews twice. They have to go round the stadium and lap it and come back, because the previews are normally an hour, but we always do to be tricky business tonight, risky business.
I'll be honest with you. I've just had a text message here from the club. Unfortunately, Richarlison's pulled a hamstring. It's just happened, so he's out for the next 3 weeks.
We knew he was on the payroll, I tell you.
There you go. Yeah, well, I told you, Matt. So all the people thinking the pigeon scoring, he ain't.
Are you joking?
No, of course I'm joking. No, I'm on a proper joke up, wind up. Don't mind, man. We've got it in the bag.
Don't do that, man. Don't do that. You actually scared me there.
When our players are dropping, you can't risk it.
Nah, so we're the hamstring injuries as well. It's like everyone gets one. All boys got one.
Yeah. Andrew's not in his presser today. He's pulled a hammy. King Hoddle makes a good point there. Dragushin, right, as our kids still calling him from that fantastic episode with Jar Wobble. Do you think he's going to get? He probably will get a game maybe this week.
I imagine he's got to start one of the two, right? He's got to start one of the two. He's got to start one of the two.
When you're coming off of a loss, my gut feel would be you play your strongest team tomorrow and get the win.
Yeah, I agree. Spot on, mate. I agree with that.
It's getting that bad. There's hammies in the comments now. Right, on that basis, we are going to say good night. Look, thank you so much, Lee.
What a hammy, mate. Unbelievable.
From
what
Maka,
a name. Did he just change his name then on the spot?
Probably. What would have made him more? There's actually a picture of a hammy, but there's a face on the bloke there, so who knows? Hammy says don't blame him. Ads, thank you so much. Ads, a reminder, of course, over at the Sports Finance, we'll give everybody a quick, just very, very quick minute or so, a reminder on what you guys do over there, and if they want to get in touch, because we always love having you on the show. Just a shame we don't get you on more, because again, work restrictions, and we'll try and get you back for a special. We always try and do that mid-season.
Yeah, I'm just financial advisor, work with a lot of footballers, musicians, entertainers, those types of things. So help them look after their money, basically.
Yeah,
so that's what I
I'll
do.
be in touch. It's running out. I tell you, it's running out. Listen, Ad, thank you so much, my man. We'll have you back on us very, very soon.
Thanks
again.
for having me,
Always
guys.
love bringing Adam on. Always an absolute pleasure. Lots of love as well. Look, for the wonderful Lee McQueen, Macca, thank you so much. From Chatty Paddy, check him out as well. And from wonderful Adam Osper, we've been the last one on Spurs. Please keep safe, keep well, build up for Brentford. Enjoy. Let's have a win. And come on, you Spurs.